Gora, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you now.
You can
Yep.
hear me now. Okay, because yeah, I was talking to you, but you were not reacting on it.
Sunadena Sunakan.
Gora, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you now.
You can hear me now. Okay,
I've been
was
trying
talking
to
you were not reacting on it.
and praying and chanting for years, hoping that Gora will hear me. Sunadena Sunakan.
I can hear you, right?
Gora Draganyagana go to Goloruharam. Goram Guditama Gopyada Kopa Briksham. Gopalagadharatidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Panchakopadarubhishcham Kripa Sindhudeva Champatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Sadi Gaura Bhakti Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Nama Amrita Varshiva Chandra Prabhadvasta Tamubaraya Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Namo Srila Nagottamaya. Again and again I offer my obeisances to Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He's indeed a true follower of Lord Gauranga Dev, the nectarian shower of the holy name, radiating from the moon of his mouth, destroys the darkness of ignorance. So nice to see everybody. Which is also here. And Gora,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You look like a cow.
That's who I am.
Very good. So we're continuing with Prema-bhakti-candrika. Let's look a little bit at our previous session. We're reading from this fourth song, which is Yugala Bhajan Nishta, how to do bhajan in a very fixed way to Radha and Krishna. So let's look at our last week's verse. Jivane Marani Gati Radha Krishna Pranapati Dunhara Piriti Rasa Suke Jugala Bhajana Jana Premananda Bhasitara Ekata Rahu Murabhuke. Shishi Radha Krishna, the lords of my life. They are the only goal in my life or death. Those who worship the divine couple enjoy transcendental mellows and float always in the ocean of love of God. Let this fact ever remain in my heart. So this is Narottam Das Thakur's prayer. And we spoke in our last session about how we have to have a goal, a gati. And he's saying that this goal is the goal jivana, if I'm alive, or mara, if I'm dead. My only is Radha Krishna, Yugala Kishore, to bring them together, because Radha Krishna Pranapati, Radha and Krishna, they're the lords of my life. So then we spoke something about who has that wealth and how it's Gurudev who has that wealth. Krishna say tomorrow, Krishna Ditiparo, Tomara Shakati Achi, he has that power. And therefore we're running behind him, Daitava Pachi Pachi, calling out Amito Kangala, Krishna Krishna Bole. We're chanting Krishna's name, and that way we're running behind him. And we heard in our last session too, from Srila Prabhupada, put this on the board again, from a lecture Prabhupada gave in 1972 on nectar devotion. Therefore, if we do not associate with the advanced devotees, Uttama Adhikari, who simply want to remain in the lowest stage of devotional service, then we're not making progress. Then we shall simply enjoy the material field without entering into the spiritual platform. So this is a chastisement for me. still, that if we don't have a desire to associate closely with advanced devotees, with Samadhi-cardika, but then what does it mean? It means that because we just want to remain in the lowest stage of devotional service. And because of that, we're not making progress. And the only thing that's going to happen is just simply enjoy the material field without entering into the spiritual platform. We must, it's so important to associate with more advanced devotees. And my Guru Maharaj, incidentally, he was very famous for stressing so much of the time that you have to associate with the person. When you hear from the lips, and you can't just read a book or just hear a tape, it's not the same. But sometimes he also said something different. He said that you should always seek out advanced association. And he said if you don't have that, then you should listen to tapes. And you should read books. Because by that we'll also have some kind of association. But the point is that we shouldn't be satisfied with that. I often give the example that maybe you're sitting upstairs in the Brahmacharya ashram in the Budapest temple, and one of the devotees comes running into your room and is crying, oh my God, Prabhupada just got up off the Vyasa-san, he's sitting down now, and he's giving class. And you're watching a video of Prabhupada. You say, I don't need to go. I'm watching him right now. Who would do that? Of course, you would run to hear from Prabhupada in person because there's a difference. But if we become lazy, complacent, thinking, well, I have the books, I have the tapes, and therefore I don't need to associate with the person, then how will we really make advancement? We've been speaking something here in the Budapest temple in our last couple of sessions about association with devotees and how Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Harinam Chintamani, as well as literatures like Narapantharatra, describe that, and Hari Bhakti Sudhagaya, that just by seeing a devotee, just by being in the presence of a devotee, by touching that devotee, some of the Shakti from that devotee comes to us. And Jiva Goswami speaks about this also in Bhakti Sundarbha. Although he stresses there's two things, there's Prasanga Rup Seva, and what's the other one? We would say Vani and Vapu. There's Vani, we can associate with the message, but we should also want to associate with the Vapu. So let's go on to today's verse. This is the fourth verse in this particular song. Yugala charan seva edana more dive jugalete manera puriti Jugala kishora bhu kamarati guna bhu gana bhu mane rahu olila kiriti. He's praying, Jugala Charana Seva. I want this service to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Now, this could be taken in a number of ways, as we were mentioning previously. Yugala also means the two, and it infers that we're bringing them together. This is Manjari Seva. So Jugala Charana Seva, another meaning is that I want to bring you together and do service at your lotus feet together. Edana More Diva. And this is the greatest treasure. I'm praying for you, Diva. You give me this thing. Jugalete manera piriti. And what I particularly want at this point, I spell things personally in Sanskrit spelling rather than what a lot of people spell for Bengali. Jugalete manera piriti. That please let this love for you, let the two of you and love for you always be manifest in my mind. This is his prayer. Dana Muradibi. You give me this wealth, this Dana. Jugala Kishora Rup. And he says that this Bhoop, this form of the Yugal Kishore, the very young form of Radha and Krishna. Kama Rati Gana Bhoop. Kama Rati is superior to Cupid and his wife, Rati. Gana Bhoop. Bhoop means it's the best or it's superior to this Gana, this group of Kamadev and Rati, Cupid and his wife. Mane Rahu O Lila Kiriti. Mane Rahu. That may these pastimes, these wonderful pastimes, always be present in my mind. This is the prayer of the devotees. This is Krishna's concluding instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. This is Gaura Lila. Krishna concludes the Bhagavad Gita by saying, Mamana Bhavamad Bhakto, that you should always think of me. But then my Guru Maharaj used to say, based on Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila chapter 3 and 4, that Krishna was thinking to himself, I'm just a theoretical speaker. I said, Mamana Bhavamad Bhakto, I said, Sarva Dharman Parityaga, always think of me, be my devotee, surrender everything to me. But there's no practical example because Krishna himself doesn't know how to do that. He doesn't have a taste for that because Krishna is Priti Vishwa. He's the object of love. So he had to come as a devotee to teach us about what is Raganuga Bhakti. And that's the real treasure. To always think of Krishna means Raganuga Bhakti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in Chaitanya Siksamrita, he speaks about many basic things. It's a very, Prabhupada actually said once that Chaitanya Siksamrita and Jaiva Dharma were the two most important books of Bhaktivinoda. And he described Bhaktivinoda as his favorite author. So his favorite author and favorite books are those two particular books. He said, Harinam Chintamani, well, Harinam Chintamani is a wonderful book also. But in Chaitanya Siksamrita, Bhaktivinoda says there's 4 different primary purposes by which someone will worship the Lord. Bhaya, Asa, Kartavya, Buddhi, and Bhakti. Bhaya means fear, Asa means some desire. That I've heard that if you go to the Hare Krishna temple, there's a lot of really pretty girls there and nice people, or the ladies go because they've heard there's a lot of nice men there. So that's asha. They want something. Kartavya Buddhi means that Buddhi, the mentality that Krishna is the karta, and kartavya means that Krishna is the doer, karta, and that because he's given me something, then I have an obligation to him. I have an obligation to Gurudev. I promised at the time of initiation. Gurudev gave me initiation. He gave me mantras, mantra datta. So I have this kartavya buddhi, this mentality, this attitude. I have to reciprocate with Gurudev. Bhaktivinoda comments on these first 3. He says that Bhaya and Asha, fear and desire, are both very low class. They're low class reasons to come to anyone. He says, better than that is kartavya buddhi. He says, but the real motivation is rag. Rag means is spontaneous attraction. And real bhakti is raganuga, where we're following that rag. And some devotees hear about that. Let's look at another aspect of the same lecture from Srila Prabhupada, from the Nectar Devotion, 1972, November 12th, in Vrindavan. Prabhupada says, Vaidhi Bhakti, that is apprenticeship. Real Bhakti, Para Bhakti, that is Raganuga Bhakti. This Raganuga Bhakti we have to come to after surpassing the Vaidhi Bhakti. So there you have it. Make a screenshot of that. So this is Srila Prabhupada's instruction. Real bhakti is Raganuga Bhakti. And if we consider things very carefully, this is what Srila Prabhupada always gave us. It's a confusing thing sometimes. We had some discussion about this recently in Ukraine. where one devotee was making a presentation. He was saying that we don't worship Radha Krishna, we worship Lakshmi Narayan, we don't practice Radha Bhakti, we practice Vaidhi Bhakti. And I had a little talk with him. And yes and no. Yes, Srila Prabhupada said that as long as you have material desires, Radha Krishna won't accept your service, but it's being accepted by Lakshmi Narayan. And sometimes devotees, then they get some confusion. And they think, oh, that we're worshiping Lakshmi Narayan because Prabhupada said that. Well, it's a pretty reasonable thing to think, isn't it? But how many deities did Srila Prabhupada name Lakshmi Narayan or Lakshmi Vishnu? He didn't name any deities like that. All of our deities are named Radha Damodar, Radha Madhava, Radha Shamsundar, Radha Govinda. Those are the names Srila Prabhupada gave. Vrindavan names, Krishna names, Vrindavan. And Prabhupada always stressed that Sri Radha Govinda Premi Sada Yena Basi, that may I always swim in the love of Sri Radha and Krishna. He gave us a Tulsi prayer. He gave us our morning prayers to Gurudev, Kunja Yuno Rati Keli Sidya Yali Biri Tira Pekshamiya, that I worship Gurudev because he's very expert in bringing Radha and Krishna together. This is our movement. Prabhupada always stressed Radha Krishna. So then, wait a minute, I would become confused. Then why did Srila Prabhupada make these other statements? We have to understand what is our adhikar and what is our goal. And both things should be very clear in our mind. Our adhikar means our qualification. We may not have adhikar qualification for Radha Krishna and Vrindavan. But don't make a misunderstanding and think that Lakshmi Narayan and Vaikuntha are our goal, or that Vishnu Bhakti is our goal. We want Radha Krishna, and we want to always remember them. But who can always remember them is someone who's sarva dharma parityaga, who's given up taking shelter of anything else. Then they can be Mamanabhava Mad Bhakto. That remembrance of Krishna, remembrance of the Lord, that's our real wealth. That's the real purpose of our movement. This is the Krishna consciousness movement, not the money consciousness movement or the membership consciousness movement or the construction site consciousness movement or even the book distribution consciousness movement. We may do all of those things, but we do them because we want to be conscious of Krishna. It's a beautiful verse. Vipadonaiva vipada, sampadonaiva sampada. Some people say, oh, there's so many problems. I have so many problems in my life. Vipada means a problem. But the other says, vipadonaiva vipada. There is no, these obstacles, these problems we have, they're not really problems. Sampado, naiva sampada. And so-called fortune is also not really fortune. Okay, then what's the deal? Vipad Vishmaranam Vishnu. The only real vipad or calamity is Vishmaranam Vishnu, to forget the Lord. And Sampan, the only real wealth, the only good fortune, Sampan Narayana Smriti, to remember the Lord. Very similar to the prayer some of you may be familiar with, famous verse in the 8th chapter of the first canto of the Bhagavatam, Kunti Devi's prayers, which she says, Vipada is the same word, Vipada, calamities. Vipada Santu Tasastat Tapcha Tapcha Jagadguru. Bring it on. Let me have that Vipada again and again and again, because when those calamities come, then we think of you. And when we think of you, when we see you every Bhagavato Darshan, Yashat Apunar Bhavanarsham, then we don't take birth again. So I'd like today, some Vaishnavas commenting on this section of Prema-bhakti-candrika, stress the importance of smarana. because here it's saying Jugaleti Manera Priti, that to remember you is my goal. I always want to think of you in my mind. That's our purpose. And sometimes we become a little confused. Sometimes some new devotees, they just join and man, Krishna consciousness is really cool. You're a vegetarian and you read books about reincarnation. Wow, it's really amazing. And there's this kirtan and prasadam, oh my God. And we're just greenhorns, as we would say in America, very, very new persons, newbies. And we go to India, we go to Vrindavan maybe, and we meet someone maybe at Radha Kund somewhere who sometimes they have a little dhoti on, it's kind of a little half dirty, and it goes above their knees, and they've got a little bit of a beard, and it's usually Radha Kund tilak, which is not actually our tilak, although Mahaprabhu wore it some one time at least, but that's not the tilak of our particular line. We wear Gopi Chandan tilak. Anyway, and I don't want to go on a tilak thing now. But it's that person says, telling you, oh, you know, you guys don't really know the real deal. And then sometimes we become confused. It's just like, you know, when you come from a small town, you had some education in high school, you go to the university in a big city, you go to Boston, you go to Harvard University. And then somebody starts picking on you and telling you, yeah, man, you're just a village guy. And you don't know what to say because you're not very sophisticated. So sometimes devotees also, they don't understand. So we should clearly understand what is the mood of our line on this. And it doesn't mean, I want to say this at the outset, I'm not personally of the school to try to say that what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gave, which Srila Prabhupada gave, is the only way. Because I had Christianity forced off on me as a young boy, and one of the verses in the Bible says that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and no man can come to the Father but by him. And I never appreciated that. The only way to go to God is through Jesus. So some people have the same attitude. The only way to go is through Srila Bhaktisiddhanta or through Srila Prabhupada. I don't believe that. There's so many different ways to approach the Lord. Krishna says, Yeyatam mam prapadante, tam satai pajam. We respect everyone, but we have our line. And coming to Guru means that I'm accepting some sasan, some chastisement. I'm accepting some instruction from him in what is sadhana bhakti, what is Vaidhi bhakti, how can I proceed? So we should understand that we want to be in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's line. If you don't like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's line, I suggest you should have thought of that before you came. Of course, you can leave or go to take on some other sadhana. But as Fakir Mahaprabhu told us once, someone asked him about Siddha Pranali. And he said, I have Siddha Pranali. He said, but in your line, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta stressed the holy name. It's everything. And if you take the Siddha Pranali after you've taken this process in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's line, then you're going to do Guru Avagya, you're going to do Guru Aparad, because you're rejecting your Guru by rejecting the sadhana that he's given you. So let's understand something about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's teachings in this regard. So I want to look at a book called Prabhupada Patravali, where he's written some letters. Patra means letter. Patravali is a collection of letters. And in a couple letters a week from where he clearly defines the path to attain this Rag Marg, or the path of spontaneous love. And I'm going to show the Bengali. I'm sorry, I hope nobody dies or anything because of it, but my Guru Maharaj taught me we should quote Shastra, we should quote Sanskrit and Bengali. Yes, I just read Leela Purushottam Prabhu's comment. I have long time suspicion of Srila Prabhupada. I'll address these questions here before we go any further. The Prabhupada said that we worship Radha and Krishna's Lakshmi Ryan, which may not speak about their identity, but rather the procedure of puja worship. Yes. And even, I wouldn't even necessarily say that it indicates our particular process of puja that we're doing as an institution, but it is indicating that when we're on a lower platform of abhyasa or manana, we're not on a spontaneous platform of smarana, as Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur discusses. And I don't know if we'll get to that. There's so many things we could discuss today. We could spend, speak about this for 10 or 15 sessions, I think. But it's not just that, in Vaidhi Bhakti, we offer incense, and in Raganuga Bhakti, you offer burnt sage, something, I don't know. It's not the particular items that we're offering, but it's the consciousness that we're offering them with. And you can't cheat that. You can't just say, oh, now I'm on the platform of Raganuga Bhakti because I'm going to play a movie about Ras Leela while I'm doing puja, or I'm going to recite some prayers from Radhakripa Katsaksa Raj or something while I'm doing this. You can't change that. It's a natural thing of the heart. So then Brajraj Gopal, how does one identify an Uttama Adhikari? That's a very good question. Krishna identifies, and we're not the seer, but we should depend on Krishna. So Rupa Goswami, I've often commented about this. Some of you may have heard me speak on it before, so be a little patient. In Upadeshamrita, Rupa Goswami says that Krishneti Yeshagiritam Manasadayeta, that we respect anyone who chants Krishna's name. And in his commentary, Srila Prabhupada says this means a Kanishta Adhikari, that someone who's chanting Krishna's name, we respect them. But Dikshashti Chet, Pranati Bischa Bhajantamisham, Pranati Bis, I offer my pranams to someone who's Dikshashti, who has Diksha, and who's worshiping Isha, who's worshiping the Lord. And Prabhupada says that's a Madhyamadhikari. And then Nindari Shindar Hidamipsita Sangha Labdya with his Dikshashti Chet Pranati Bishya Bhajantamisham, Shushushayo Bhajana Vigyan. Someone who's Bhajan Vigyan, who's expert in Bhajan, and Nindari Shindar Hida, whose heart is free from the propensity to criticize others. Eta Sangha Labdya, that's a person I want association with. And Prabhupada says that's the Uttama Adhikari. Now, as we've often commented, if you contemplate that verse carefully, the verse does not tell you who is a Kanishta Madhyam and Uttam, because you can imitate. I can pay someone to chant Hare Krishna. It doesn't mean they're Kanishta Adhikari. They may be cheating you. And as we pointed out sometimes in Russia, the KGB sometimes would send agents to the temple that act like devotees. And in America, the FBI did the same thing during the Vietnam War. So you can't just judge by that. Dikshashti Chet Pranati Bishya Bhajantamisham. And someone may be doing Bhajanisha, worshiping the Lord, and they have second initiation, but you don't know. Sometimes ditch diggers and Sudras in Kolkata, they purchase a paita, a Brahmin thread for a few paisa, and then they go to one rickshaw to another and they chant some mumbo jumbo and they wave some incense and they charge some money from rickshaw wallahs and people, and they act like they're a Brahmin. But you don't know if they are or not. And Bhajan Vigyan, someone who's expert in bhajan, well, if I'm not expert in bhajan, how do I know? Well, somebody knows, Jai Gaur knows 10 different melodies. He can play mridanga, he can play harmonium. He must be an uttam, and he also knows at least 4 verses from Bhagavad Gita, right? We can judge by that. But then it says, Nindadi Shinya Hidam, that their heart is free from the propensity to criticize. Well, I sat down and talked with Jai Gaur for 15 minutes and he didn't criticize anybody. So clearly, he must be an uttam. But you don't know. Maybe he just controlled himself for those 15 minutes. And maybe his so-called bhajan vigyan expertise in bhajan is there because he's a musician, But real expertise in bhajan means that we know how to pray, we know how to cry for the Lord in a voice, in a way to make him appear to us. That's real bhajan vigyan. So then what do these three things mean? This is a general outline. And if we associate closely with people, then we can see if it's just, after some time, you'll come to find out, oh, it's just a spy. It's not actually really a devotee at all. Or you'll come to find out, oh, it was just some ditch digger who purchased a Brahmin thread. He's not actually a Brahmin. Or you may come to find out he's just someone putting on a show, like myself, putting on a show and pretending to be something that we're not. So therefore, again and again in Shastra, it's stressed that we should associate intimately with people. And in and of itself, just to make a little comment about institutions, because it's something we all are often conscious of, the fact that repeatedly through the Bhagavatam, through Bhaktivinoda's writings, through so many different literatures, it's stressed that we should associate with the sadhu for some time before we accept him as guru. That in and of itself dismisses the whole institutional problem. Because the problem with institutions is you're not doing that. We complain about the institution because it's assigned to me. Well, don't accept it. Don't accept an assigned wife, an assigned husband, an assigned friend, or an assigned guru. You take responsibility for your life. And this is what Shastra is saying. In the institution, it's kind of like kindergarten. We're training people up in basic principles in bhakti. And it's also a sangha for devotees to come together and preach and carry on the movement. But we have a personal responsibility to find out who's who and to decide who's who. So let's go on now. We have this letters from Shiva Bhaktisiddhanta. Oh boy, this is a really intense discussion. Okay, Apnar Patre is very sweet. First of all, he's addressing his disciples, Apnar. He doesn't say Tomar. Tomar is how you address an equal. But he says Apnar. Apnar is how you address a senior person. It's like saying sir. Dear sir, Patre, in your letter, in your patra, Patre, in your patra, Apnara Patre Shastasar Sangraha Darshan Kori Bodhi Ananda Laba Korilam. I had so much Ananda Laba. I became so happy when I saw in your letter Shastra Sara Sangraha Darshan. I said this, I saw in your letter the essence of Shastra. Koriya Bodhi Ananda Laba Korilam. I'm so happy seeing. A Shakala Kata Chinte Bala Koriya Alochana Koriyai Chanite Pari Benje. He says that if you think about this thing, A Shakala Kata, you think about all the different things that are stated. Chinte means to think about it. Pala Koriya Alochana Koriyai Janite Pari Ben. You think about this very, very carefully in your heart. Then alaya, which means some laziness, alaya hoite jata chanchade pakabudi. Your laziness won't trouble you, and you'll get pakabudi, you'll get good intelligence. Prakrita prashtava phala pradini samartha hoy. And you'll understand what is the real fruit of things. And he says, Amarak Shudra Jiva. We're very, very tiny souls. Viripatir Patik. We're on the path, we're going on the path of Vaidhi Bhakti. Tabi Ragir Virodi Nahi. But at the same time, Ragir Virodi Nahi, we're not against Raganuga Bhakti. Take a screenshot of that. Tabi Ragir Virodi Nahi. We're not against Raganuga Bhakti. Ragir Katab Goro Tabi Amadir Muke Uha Shoba Paina. He says that this Rag Katab, this topic of Raganuga Bhakti, It's very, very great Bodho. Tabi Amada Muke, but Amad in our mouth, Shobha Payina, our tiny little mouth, Shobha Payina, it doesn't look very good because I don't have qualification for it. Chota Muke Bodho, Kata Shunile, Bhajana Ragi, Gana Hashakoriye Udayi Divan. So when someone who's a Bhajana Ragi, Gana, someone who's a devotee, whose life and soul is bhajan, when such persons sunile, that they hear are speaking about this Raganuga Bhakti, Chota Muke, the small mouth, Bodhakata, was speaking this very big topic, then Hashakoriya, they just start laughing. And Udaye did, and they say, yes, 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 very good. Now go away. This is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's position. Krishna ki vastu. We should understand that Krishna, he is everything. Taha jahara upalabdhi hoya nai. And if we try to, in a mechanical way, raise ourselves up to the path of Raganuga Bhakti, it just doesn't work. Tahara anuragapati unutta adhikara prapta chesta alasha gyapak. We don't have the adhikar for this. And it just alasha gyapak, it shows our laziness, that we're not willing to follow the orders of Guru. We're not willing to act according to our adhikar, even though our adhikar is just chota muke. We have a very, very small mouth. Ihai Mahajana Gana Pade Pade Bolilachi. And the Mahajans, they declare this thing constantly. And then he says, you should understand, Shri Bhagavanam Ubhagavan Eki Vastu, that the name of Krishna, the name of the Lord, and the Lord himself, they're one. And if someone has this vichar, bandha vichar, nama, namita, bedi, buddhi, aichi, they see some distinction between nam and nami. That means we're a conditioned soul. And if we see some difference between nam and nami, and who amongst us sees Krishna as Krishna's name as Krishna? Who amongst us sees Name Prasatito He Rupa Guna Karma, that when we chant Krishna's name, Krishna appears? As long as we don't see, or rather we do see some difference between these two. Tahadir Anartha Nibriti Janya Bhajana Kushala Jana Seva Koro Natashta Avashyaka. Then we have to act according to Vaidhi Bhakti. We have to act in a way to get rid of our anarthas. And he says that if we, let's just go in some of the English, I'm afraid I'm going to kill everybody here, that to demonstrate this, the Eternal Associates of Sri Gaurasundar have described the kind of bhajan such devotees engage in. If we go to repeat it like parrots, and people will designate us as prakrita sahajas and thus bear down on our self-assurance. But if we want to show all those prakrita sahajas, mired in their misconceptions, the real glory of Raganuga Bhakti, we have to learn the art of bhajan ourselves, and only then try for others' eternal benefits. So try to carefully understand what is written. Bhajan is nothing external, nor any means for showing off. Uchaishave Harinama Koriben means, Uchaisha means to call out loudly. Hari Koriben means to do. Very loudly call out the name of Krishna, call out the holy name. The Taha Hoile Alasharupa Bhoga. This laziness, Salasharup, this Bhoga, this desire to enjoy, then amadike grasa korite paribina. It won't be able to swallow us, like the Agasura demon, who appeared like he was a resident of Vrindavan, or like he was a feature of Vrindavan, and the cowherd boys were so convinced that they were ready to walk into his mouth. Okay, let's just go over another letter. I think we'll skip the Bengali. I don't want to kill everybody. Sorry. Well, sometimes we'll look a little bit because this translation is very one-dimensional. And if you look in the original language, it's so sweet. And it has so very, very nice. So first of all, he's saying, I've seen your letter on the 24th say. And Api Vrindavane Giya Vaishnavira Gana Nikate J Ashakalila Smaranyari Vishai Gyanayachan Uha Udharaniya Sandeha Nai. You've heard about this Ashtakali Leela because you've been hanging out with some of those people at Radhakund in Vrindavan. And that's a very good thing, no doubt. Gyanayachi Uha Adaniya Sandeha Nai. We want to give respect to that. But the way that people are trying to think about these pastimes in their contaminated state is totally corrupt. We're trying to meditate on something, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said in one letter, one article which he titled, the title doesn't come to my mind, very unusual word, old English word. Doesn't come to my mind. Anyway, he says the senses that we use to perceive things that we understand by are the same things which are binding us up in this material world. So that's a big problem. I'm trying to figure things out with my senses, my dull material senses, but the same senses are the things that are tying me up in this world. So if I'm going to try them with those same dull material senses, which are always turned towards sense gratification, if I'm going to try to understand Raganuga Bhakti, I'm going to try to understand Lila Smarana, then he says, in this contaminated state, it's totally corrupt. It's just some imagination that you have. Some fortunate individuals are capable of knowing these things after chanting for a long time, for that is the identity of the true self. Again, abhyasa, manana, and smarana. Abhyasa yoga yutena, we practice. And after some practice, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in the Sartavashini commentary in 12th chapter of the Gita, abhyasa, after some practice, we come to manana. We start to being able to slow down enough to think about what we're doing. And therefore, I so oftentimes, I stress that we want to encourage independent thinking. Now, sometimes we don't want to encourage that. We don't want to encourage independent thinking with devotees who are immature. And honestly speaking, there's a lot of immature devotees. But sooner or later, they have to become mature. A child is immature. But if you just treat the child always like they're 5 years old, and then the child grows up and is a 25-year-old man going to the university, and you're still calling him up, did you change your underwear today? Are you eating enough? And you're treating him like a baby, that person, his development will become stunted. So we have to encourage people to think. And it's a little bit of a scary thing. I get in trouble sometimes for this. I got in trouble a few times in the last year or so, traveling different places in Europe, because some people basically said, we're not supposed to think. No, what are you saying that we're just supposed to blindly follow? Huh? There's a type of nyaya, it's called Anda Parampara Nyaya, or the logic of the blind parampara. And that statement, that kind of nyaya, that indicates the fallacy. I just wrote a foreword for a book, Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj recently spoke about this under parampara nyaya. It speaks about the fallacy of blind following, mechanical following. But there is benefit to mechanical following also. With a 2-year-old child, you don't sit down and try to explain to him why he has so many rules and this and that and the other. It's necessary. But at the same time, we want the child to grow up and to think. And even to get them to think sometimes, maybe an adult or a parent may tell them, yeah, you really want to stick your hand in the fire? Go ahead, you should try it. Maybe it'll feel good. And a little child sticks their hand in the fire and they start screaming. Now, maybe you've done a bad thing because you allowed that child to burn their hand. Or maybe you did a good thing because the child needed that to learn. And after getting burned, the child's not going to stick their hand in the fire again. So it's the art of preaching. And in our society, as Srila Prabhupada was saying, that if we don't desire to associate uttams, and as Srila Ram Maharaj was saying, someone quoted him recently to me, that Maharaj was complaining that in our society there's a lack of madhyam literature. What to speak of uttam literature, there's a lack of madhyam literature. And most of our literature is just Kanishta literature. And the devotee was commenting that to me. I replied about a book. Let's just keep it a little more unknown without stating any names. About a book written by a person that I know, and it's a biography. And in that biography, it's a biography of a devotee. He writes about 1.5 pages explaining what is a dhoti. Now, when I saw that, I thought to myself, who in the world is going to read this book? You're not going to distribute this book on the street. It's a book about one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. The only people who are going to be interested in reading this book are devotees. So you should know your audience and you should treat them in an adult way. It's a shame, but because our society many times have just been trained over and over and over again that everybody's a baby and you don't dare to treat them like they're an adult. Well, if you always treat them like a baby, they'll always remain a baby. We have to encourage people to do a little bit of independent thinking. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is pointing out here, if our consciousness is contaminated, then our ability to understand is corrupt. So there's some necessity for abhyasa, or for mechanical following. But we want to always try to say something to get them to understand what is our goal. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta goes on, some fortunate individuals are capable of knowing these things after chanting for a long time, for that is the identity of the true self. But it can only be known after one is freed of mental contaminations. With the awakening of the spiritual identity, one automatically has constant cognition of the spiritual form. Those who say that they can teach or reveal this identity are practicing a kind of deception that cannot be done. So somebody may say, then what are you giving this class for about this today? Or someone may say, why recently in Ukraine did we speak about some Krishna Leela things? As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta famously said at Radha Kunj, you should know such things exist. But there's a huge difference between knowing, recognizing that such a thing exists and studying it. When you first go, especially in the university, you go to a university class, it's quite often a common thing that the instructor will try to blow your mind. And they'll start speaking, so many high things about the subject matter. To give an example, maybe you're on the level of studying mathematics and arithmetic, and they start speaking about calculus and trigonometry, and you can barely understand what in the world they're talking about. I'm just on the platform of 1 + 1 is 2, and I know they're talking about trigonometry and geometry and algebra and this and that. Because we should know such things exist. Otherwise, the student may very well fall prey to laziness, which Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was just speaking about, laziness, and not want to progress any further. So there is some necessity to speak about what is param gati, what is our ultimate goal. But we have to understand the adhikar of the person. So let's continue with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Those who say they can teach or reveal this identity are practicing a kind of deception that cannot be done. On the other hand, if a devotee receives some inspiration after sincerely chanting for a long time, he should go to the Sadguru or advanced devotees and ask for it to be confirmed and purified by them. we have some revelation. Wow, I'm a blade of grass in the spiritual world. And my service is to massage very gently Krishna's lotus foot when he steps on me, or the gopi's lotus foot. And then you go for that thing to be confirmed and purified. And maybe they'll tell you something, well, you should think more like this and do this thing. The spiritual identity has 11 aspects, ekadasa bhav. There are many cases of unscrupulous gurus who artificially force-feed these designations on unqualified practitioners, but we cannot call this the mark of spiritual perfection. Some of our friends who had gone to one prominent guru at Radhakund, again, let's not speak names because we don't know who's who. And they give us some money and they got some Ekadas Bhav. They'd gotten some 11 different aspects of their spiritual identity. This is your name, this is your color of your sari, this is the color of your skin, this is the name of your husband, this is the village you live in, this is the service you do, etc., etc. And he gave them some special money. This is only for you. And later, those Russian devotees, they were speaking in the ashram. He said, Gurudev gave me this thing, told me not to tell anybody. Finally, he says, well, what is your Siddha Swarup? And then he says, and he spoke some Manjari name. And then another one said, no, that's what Gurudev told me. And the third one said, well, yeah, that's what he also told me. This actually happened. And they found that he told all of them the same thing. And so later they went and they confronted him with that. And after they left, somebody asked that sadhu, why did you do like that? And he told them, he said, they're like children. So when a child comes to you, a child wants to play with a gun. You don't give them a .38 revolver with bullets in it. You give them a plastic toy. And you say, this is your gun number. You got to be careful, and you got to do with it like this and this. And then they learn something about it. That was their comment. So this kind of thing goes on. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, that we cannot call this the mark of spiritual perfection. Those who have achieved the perfection of being fixed in their spiritual identity, Swarup Siddhi, have attained such a realization through internal revelation. And the spiritual master's only involvement in these matters is to help the further advancement of the disciple. As a practitioner progresses towards spiritual perfection, all these things are revealed naturally within the heart that sincerely seeks service. Now, I remember giving a class once in Jagannath Puri in one of our yatras, and there was one Western Babaji who attended it, and somehow he liked the class. And afterwards, he came to me, and we're having some discussion. Then I came to see that actually what happened before that, he was preaching to some of the devotees and telling them that you need to have Siddha Pranali, this Ekadas Bhav, this practice of this, otherwise you're not really practicing bhakti. And the devotees were a little confused. They didn't know what to say. So some of them turned to me, and I was speaking with this devotee, and it was being very respectful and very welcoming him to him, because he's come to our Sangha, and he's a guest, we should worship him and give so much respect and love for him. But at the same time, we can't tolerate if someone is speaking against our Guru Janas or the teachings of them. And so we were discussing, and he was challenging me. And so finally I asked him, I said, well, can you tell me where in our Goswami literatures does it speak about Siddha Pranali? Just one place. And he was quiet. Because you can't even get one. And it is the most important thing, but they don't mention even in one place. Then how can I accept that it's the most important thing? And I told him that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu, he tells Prakashananda Saraswati that my Guru, he told me that I'm a murka, I'm a fool, and I only know one verse, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam. That the holy name, the holy name, the holy name is everything. And I told this devotee, he doesn't say Siddha Pranali, Siddha Pranali, Siddha Pranali Eva Kevalam. It says Harinama, Harinama. And from the holy name, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Name Prasvatita Hoy Rupa Guna Karma. The holy name will blossom into Krishna's form. qualities and pastimes in a natural way. And that makes perfect sense. In fact, I would even be so bold as to say, how can it be otherwise? Because Krishna is in the heart of the devotees. And if someone's really hankering, will Krishna not help that devotee? As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says here, Sadakir Siddha Uniti Krame E Shakalakata Sabhavi Ki Bhavi Kapata Sevan Mukha Hridaya Kakasita Hoy. That when this sadak further progresses, Unuti Krame, Unuti means that Krama means to progress, he's making progress and becomes Siddha, then E Shakalakata, all these points. Sabhaviki means naturally. They all naturally, Sabhaviki Bhavi, they naturally arise in the heart. And Akapata, in a way which is not duplicitous. Sevan Mukha Hridaya Prakashita Hoy. It's a natural way. They translated it here. They're naturally revealed. The Bengali is so beautiful. So Bhaviki Bhavi Akapata Sevan Mukha Hridaya Prakashita Hoy. Prakashita means to manifest in the heart. Say of that heart is Sevan Mukha, who's sincerely looking for service. But Sabhaviki Bhavi Akapata. It's a natural thing within the heart, which has no duplicity. This is our process. And how can it be otherwise? Otherwise, Krishna is not really God. Otherwise, the holy name is not really the same as Krishna. And I offer my pranams to different Vaishnavas who have Siddha Pranali, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur had Siddha Pranali from his Diksha Guru. We don't have any problem with it. I know different Vaishnavas, Fakir Mohan Babu had Siddha Pranali, but I have the line of my Gurudev. I came to this line, and it makes perfect sense. What Srila Bhaktisiddhanta has given us is a line of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. There's two lines Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about in Jaiva Dharma. And we spoke about this some time back in one of our classes on the Gambhira. There's a line of Raghunath Das Goswami, which is a natural line, and the natural line of the heart. And there's a more artificial external line, which is a line of Dhyan Chandra Goswami, who wrote the Gaur-Govinda Smarana Archana Padati. And what Dhyan Chandra Goswami is giving is something more mechanical. So our system is a very simple thing. It's a very natural system. And we should be patient. And we should have faith in the holy name. Don't take shelter of other things. Don't take shelter of exposing the rascals. Don't take shelter of managers or institutions. Don't take shelter of anything except for the holy name, through the guidance of Sadguru and sadhus. That will give everything. And all these other things, the buildings and the management and those rules, they're there to help us. But we don't take shelter of those things. And I see sometimes devotees are taking shelter of those things instead of taking shelter of the holy name. I see devotees sometimes are taking shelter of Vanashram Dharma. Well, Prabhu, we need more Kshatriyas, and we have to come and we have to fight, we have to expose the rascals, and we do this and that. That's okay. But are you taking shelter of the holy name? And if you're not taking shelter of the holy name, how are you going to advance in Krishna consciousness? And what will happen inevitably, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says at a certain point, you'll think, oh, the holy name doesn't work. I've been chanting it now for 20 years, 30, 40 years, and I still haven't seen Krishna. The holy name doesn't work because you've not been taking shelter of the holy name. We haven't had absolute faith in the holy name. We're taking shelter of some other thing. So we should take shelter of the bhajan pranali that our Gurudev has given us, which is this chanting of the holy name. And I'm going to stop there. Let's look at this verse again from Narottam Das Thakur. There's so many things we are considering to talk about today, but it's just so much that maybe it'd give us a little understanding. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, we should know these things exist. Yugala charana seva e dhana moradiba yugaleti manera piditi. Yugala kishora roop kamarati gana poop. Mani Rahu Olila Kiriti. that we're praying that what do I want with Radha and Krishna? Why do I always want to think of him? I don't want anything else. I just want to think of Radha Krishna. Jivane Murane Gati Arnahi, are in life or in death. What is it particular? Yugala Charana Seva. I want to bring you together and worship your lotus feet. E Dana Muradiba. This is the dana, the treasure I want from you. Yugaliti Manera Piditi. Please, may I always think of you with love in mind. And how do we do this? Today we spoke something as a beautiful prayer. Trying to remember, it was written by one of the disciples of Shiva Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati, for Shiva Bhakti-siddhanta. This is a verse I recite every day, that's why it doesn't come to my mind. Where's Krishna Krona? What is it? He Dina Bando Karunaika Sindo Karu Prasadam Muyamanda Mudhe. He Dina Bando Karunaika Sindo. He Dina Bando, oh my Gurudev, you're the friend of the fallen. That's the proof is you initiated me. He Dina Bando Karunaika Sindo. You're the ocean of mercy. Kuru Prasadam Muyamanda Mudhe. Please give mercy to me. Muyamanda Mudhe. Although I'm just an ignorant fool. Mahimanda Mudhe, Lakshaparadhe, Bahupapagadhe. I'm doing thousands and thousands of offenses. I'm full of all types of sins. Tapada Padme Stu Matishta Krishna. So what is my prayer to you? Tapada Padme Stu Matishta Krishna. I'm praying that may I always remember your lotus feet and the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. So this is our process. We don't go to Krishna alone. Yugala Manera Pririti, Nautam Das Thakur says, I want to always remember you. That remembrance comes by serving Gurudev, by following the rules and instructions Gurudev has given us. Jugala Kishora Rup Kamarati Guna Bhoop. Thinking then about that beautiful form of Radha and Krishna, Kamarati Guna Bhoop. It's much, much superior to Kamadev and his wife Rati. Mani Rahu Olila Kiriti. May these pastimes always, Rahu means always, may they always remain within my mind. So that's our session today. Does anybody have any reflections or questions, comments, or anything? It's nice to see everybody here today. We don't often see Brajavanita, and Brenda Sundar is also here. Anybody have any reflections or comments? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and stop. And Gora Prabhu, let's not forget Gora. Is it the sun hasn't arisen yet?
Hare Krishna.
Jai Gora, you had something?
Yeah. I just wanted to ask one question.
There's two. There's Jai Gora and there's Gora. You're Gora and there's a Jai Gora. I'll put both of you up.
Sorry. Maybe Jai Gora wants to.
Because you're later at night. He's like in the middle of the day.
I wanted to ask a question. So if one, by good fortune, picks up a book by Srila Prabhupada and hears this, or he listens to a tape, or in some sangha, he somehow or other comes across this message that all perfection can be attained by chanting Hare Krishna. And then he takes up this process of chanting Hare Krishna, taking complete shelter of the holy names. Then is it that perfection is already there in a seed form? Or is it that by taking shelter of the holy names, then Krishna sends a person to bestow upon him that perfection?
Different Vaishnavas will say different things. I would choose to follow what seems to be Rupa Goswami's stress, where he says, Ado Shraddha Sadhu Sangha. That the first thing is we have some Shraddha. Because sometimes as people chant, and until they come to the point of chanting with some faith. And chanting with faith means what? It means Sadhu Sangha Nam Kirtan. Matra Chai, in the words of Jagadananda Pandit, that I want these two things. I want the holy name and sadhu sangha because these two things go together. So if I have some faith, faith in what? Faith in who? Say, I don't just read a book. I may read a book, and because of some past life sukriti, I may develop some faith because I'm associating in some way with Srila Prabhupada to the book. And somebody may start chanting because of that. But still, to properly progress in that practice, you need some help from someone. How am I, how do I get up in the morning? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I fix my mind? We need to practice, speak to some practitioners. The story I sometimes tell that there was a farmer in West Virginia who found a book in the garbage in one city, and Bhagavad Gita, and he started reading it, and he started chanting Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada said you should chant 16 rounds a day. And he was chanting for a number of years, started following the principles and everything. And one day he heard about the community in New Vrindavan. So he went there and he was just blown away, my God. And he asked him, he said, how do you guys do it? How do we do what? How do you chant 16 rounds? It takes me like 4 hours to chant, one round or something. And then, what? What do you mean? Because he saw the movie Hair, and he thought that when you chant, you sing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Because he didn't know. The book doesn't say. We need to speak to some practitioner. Is that helpful, Prabhu?
Yeah. Yeah, we need practical guidance.
And we need some affection from someone. As Jiva Goswami says, we should work to melt the heart of an advanced Vaishnava. Jiva Goswami, Bhakti Sandarbha. If we melt the heart of that advanced Vaishnava, that becomes our bhakti.
Mm.
So you don't worry, you're the most fallen, rotten person in the world. Like a nasty, rotten avocado has been laying on the ground for 2 weeks in the tree. It smells bad, but still, they can pick us up and take the seed, wash it off, and get a tree from that.
Thank you, Prabhu.
You want to share anything?
Yes, Prabhu. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about these two different paths that you were briefly speaking about, one coming from Lokeshwar Pandit and one coming from Raghunath Das Goswami. And some conversations I've been having with devotees, in one sense, in my mind, the lines between them are kind of blurred in one sense. There's some things I've been thinking, like I heard one devotee telling me, speaking that Narayan Maharaj had said Pranali, and he got it from Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, and Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj got it from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, got it from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I don't know if that's correct or not, but and I was thinking about Dhyan Chandra Goswami's Padati. I hear you quote from it. I've heard Ayendra Prabhu quote from it, and also Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote Jaiva Dharma. And he wrote that for us, and a large part of it, Gopal Guru Goswami, and they're speaking to the devotees. And so I'm kind of trying to understand what is the main difference in one sense, because, and to me, it kind of seems like maybe the main difference is how soon the spiritual identity is revealed to the disciple, because in place in Jaiva Dharma, he's saying that these facets of Ekadasha Bhav are there's things that basically there's things that we can know, right? The just general things that we can know, and the more specific things are revealed later. So it kind of seems like what separates it is just small amounts of information. Makes sense? Can you comment on that?
Yeah, our sadhana depends on our sadhya. Sadhya means our goal, what we conceive of as the goal. by that we'll perform sadhana. We'll do some. So some persons, they're conceiving the Lord in that process in a way, in a mechanical kind of way. And that's what Bhaktivinoda called the Bahir Pata, or the external path of Jan Chandra Goswami. And it's external because it's something mechanical, and we're depending upon, we're trying to forcibly think about it through some mantra, I'm trying to forcibly think about some lila or something. But in the inner path, the Antarpata, the inner path of Raghunath Das Goswami, we depend upon the holy name. And that inner path, as we were discussing in our series about the bhajan in the Gambhira, is also done exclusively for the pleasure of Guru Gauranga, of our Gurudev and of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We're doing it as a service for them. Whereas the system given by Jan Chandra Goswami, someone may be doing that for the pleasure of the Lord, but generally there's so much stress on ourself and thinking of my Gurudev in this way, and thinking, and I should think like this, and I should think like that, this thing and that thing. That the tendency is there to think of myself, and it's an external path. It's still, someone can make advancement on that, but the natural path is the internal path. And especially in the Gambhira Bhajan Pranali, in the system of Bhajan, the Gambhira, we're just chanting for the pleasure of the Lord, for Guru and Krishna's pleasure, for Guru Gauranga's pleasure. And then when they become pleased, as I mentioned just a moment ago, when we melt their heart, we melt the heart of the Gurudev, we melt the heart of an advanced Vaishnava by chanting for their pleasure. Tate Krishna Bhaji Kodi Guru Sevan. Most often quoted verse I speak on, that my service to my Gurudev is my Krishna Bhajan. My Krishna Bhajan is my service to my Gurudev. That's the internal path, where one is just simply depending on the holy name. And in one sense, as Jayananda Prabhu, once he was asked, how did you become so advanced? And Jayananda was such a simple person. He was quiet for a moment and thought, and he said, I don't know. He said, I'm always too busy doing service to think about it. And that's a very, very deep statement. That we should be so absorbed in serving our Gurudev that we don't have time even to think about our own advancement. And as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said in one place in my Gurudev's quote, let me go to hell for my Gurudev, but let me just do whatever he wants. And that for me is the inner path. I can't comment so much on the external path, although I've read Chandra Goswami's book, and it's a wonderful book. And there are many things in the book also about the holy name and about Radha Krishna Leela and many different important things. But we should be careful as we progress further. Our spiritual life is like a pyramid. On the bottom level, it's all simple. Be a vegetarian, eat spiritual food, follow 4 regulated principles, chant the holy names. But as we progress further and further, it comes more and more to a point, and we have less and less association. And we want to be very, very careful that we're basing things in a proper way on our Gurudev. We want to be close with him. We want to be anugatya, following closely of our Gurudev. Is that helpful?
Yeah, Prabhu, that's helpful. I have I'm kind of thinking also, how do we understand Jaiva Dharma? That Gopal Guru Goswami's teachings are a big part of it. And it seems like Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted to, he gave Jaiva Dharma for us. So he wanted to give us those things.
I can't comment on that because I've not seen any explanation from Bhaktivinoda directly about that, nor have I seen the explanation from our acharyas, but I can make a conjecture based on Shastra and the teachings of our acharyas that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, first of all, if you think of an author, who is his audience? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not writing that Jaiva Dharma for people in downtown New York City. He wrote the book in Bengali language. And there are many cultural things in that book, which Americans would not understand, which are really for Bengalis. So in that book, one thing that he does in a very brilliant way is he makes a unification between these two paths, the internal path and the external path, and he accepts both. That's a very remarkable thing. Whereas prior to Bhaktivinoda's preaching, mostly devotees like Siddha Ramdas Babaji and other prominent Babajis of Radhakund, they were stressing the external path, we would call the external path. They may not appreciate that term, but they were stressing that kind of thing. And then some other Vaishnavas were stressing more, we would call the internal path. And we'll find that also very prominent in Orissa, different places. It's not that all traditional Vaishnavas have Siddha Pranali. A lot of them just chant the Hare Krishna mantra, which we would consider to be the internal path. But we want to follow it by Guru. So Bhaktivinoda Jayavadharma has done an amazing thing. He's brought these two together in a way to reconcile and give respect to both. That's my humble vision.
Thank you.
We lost Tirthakar Prabhu. And Manish Prabhu, you want to make some comment?
Yes, please. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you again for a very deep class. I think there was the first comment, well, the first question you answered later on in the class, and also with Jagara Prabhu's question also, the idea of kind of, when you mentioned one path is Siddha Pranali, one path is kind of more internal, focusing on Harinam, or the holy name, it made me kind of think a little bit about, you know, like the only qualification is the faith in the holy name, and I just recollected.
A little slower, maybe a little more clearly. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna. No. You play this. You play this. There you go.
Sure.
Sorry. So I was just thinking that when you mentioned that the internal path kind of has more stress on the chanting of the holy name, it also made me think of when Prabhupada wrote the closing entry, that I have no bhakti, I have no knowledge, but I have, you know, faith in the holy name. Like the connection between the kind of top to bottom, you know, from the top to the bottom of the acharyas is so consistent. I just found that so beautiful, actually. And I think the other point around consistency, again, you know, when in this verse, when Narottam Das Thakur says, please bestow, again, coming back to a few lectures ago, when I think he was saying, you give me happiness, like that sense of almost helplessness, that I really have no control over anything. You give me everything. So I just find that so sweet. And those are the first kind of observations. But the question I had is more related to small sanghas. So the idea of the Rag Gatha that we are reading, it's okay. Hold on. You play with this. The Rag, sorry, I've got little Janitai sitting with me today.
Oh, there he is. Hari Paul.
He's sitting with me today. He's hello, Hare Krishna. So he's just keeping me company also. But on the quote about the Rag Gatha, I was thinking sometimes we've been encouraged to have discussions in smaller Vaishnavas kind of sanghas, maybe 4 or 5 people, and read. I'm not going to say, but you know, like for example, you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you discuss some of the topics which perhaps are way above our intelligence. Not that we discuss them with the idea that we know them, but you know, like you just kind of become inspired by some of them. Is that borderline on the verge of what we were talking about here? Because when you mention Rag Gatha here, it's kind of like, whoa, we've got to be very careful about this. We don't want to, you know, cause offense. We don't want to ruin our spiritual life, but at the same time, we want to take what inspires us and kind of nurture that and say, oh, this is really interesting. Let's discuss. Let's kind of become more inspired together, if that makes sense. So how do we balance the two practically?
Well, what are we taking shelter of as our sadhana? That's the question. And for persons who are practicing Ashtakaliya Smarana, their sadhana is meditating on the Eightfold Leela of the day. Famously, there was one devotee from Orissa named Siddha Krishna Das Babaji who was staying at Govinda Kund in near Govardhan. And he had some disciples. He's a very amazing devotee. He wrote some amazing books. And one day, one of his disciples came to me and he was very disturbed. He said, Guru Maharaj, I failed today. I have my sadhana to meditate on the Eightfold Pastimes of the day. And I was meditating on Radha and Krishna, and I saw Radha, and in my meditation, I was looking at Radharani's toenail. And I just couldn't keep my eyes off of it. And the whole day went by, and all I could see was Radharani's toenail, and I failed. I didn't think of the pastimes during the day. And Siddha Krishna Das Babaji embraced him and said, no, you've done perfectly. So that's their system to try, and it's a sadhana. It's generally a sadhana, as Bhaktisiddhanta and Bhaktivinoda point out, for persons on a higher level than ourselves. And I don't mean to be negative toward other Vaishnavas. Let's respect all Vaishnavas and love all Vaishnavas, and we don't understand them. But at the same time, I have my Guru Janas and I have my path. And I've seen some Vaishnavas who take up some Babaji things and practicing Raganuga Bhakti. But so many of them end up going to movies and eating in restaurants and getting involved with women and so many things. The same basic problems we have, which I can understand totally. I also live in this world. It's not an easy place. I'm not so pure. But the point is being that they're trying to do something which has been given them by their guru. I respect that also. But what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gave and Srila Prabhupada stressed, I think is more appropriate for people at this time. Is that helpful to your question? I kind of maybe lost your question.
Yeah, so I think what we're saying here is that follow the process that Prabhupada gave, which is you do it. It's okay. Yeah. Follow the process of Prabhupada and the kind of system he's given. And it's like, as long as we don't kind of, sorry, I'm going to stand up and just turn the camera off.
Yeah.
As long as we almost don't leave that system, but we can still kind of appreciate from a distance, like to the point you made earlier, that we should know. Sorry, I'll send a message in the chat.
Okay, we have a few people here. I'm waiting to hear from you, Manish, and I know you have the baby. It's beautiful. I'm just going to turn to Brenda Sundari, who may have to go soon. She's written a comment. All I can say is, from a mental health perspective, giving Siddha Pranali needlessly to someone who's not qualified is a mental health disaster, as well as a waste of time spiritually. Do you do that in the Denver temple? You give Siddha Pranali sometimes as a temple president? It's pretty far out. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta made some comments like that also, that if someone is in the bodily conception of life, a man, and they're thinking about, I am a gopi manjari, I'm a manjari, I'm a manjari, and all that will happen, they'll take birth as a woman, or maybe they'll become a cross-dresser. And I don't mean to belittle cross-dressers. Arjuna also was a cross-dresser. Krishna is also a cross-dresser. Sometimes he dresses up like Radharani. It's not my business to try to judge them. But just to do that in an external way, it's not kind of perfection. He says, I've counseled too many men to think otherwise. Thank you, Brenda Sundar, voice of practicality. Jai Gaur said, Prabhu, I have to get ready to leave for Harinam, so turn off his camera. I'm so happy thinking of Jai Gaur going out every day for Harinam. And I please all the devotees here, if you can support that New York Harinam, give them donations or just share it on Facebook or talk to people about it. They're really, for me, that they're doing so much. They're one of the bright lights in Prabhupada's movement in our society. Such a one. Ram Roy Prabhu has really got the spirit of Ayendra Prabhu, and they're going out every day. I think they were going out for 14 hours a day or something crazy during Kartik, during the last 5 days of Kartik anyway. Okay, anybody else with anything? Manisha, it's like we lost you for a little bit. You get them back. Leela Purushottam Prabhu. Yes, sir.
Hare Krishna. My pronouns.
I
I've
hope I'm not
missed.
speaking too many things, but I'm not going to get banned from going to check the public.
Once more, it went off for a second.
I hope that I'm not in trouble with you, and I'm not going to get banned speaking too many high things. I'm not going to get banned from going to check.
Definitely not at our place. Probably there would be places where you wouldn't be enthusiastically welcome, but that's their problem. Well, I missed many parts of your kata actually, because I was just busy in Damodara, and so I will have to listen to it again so that I have a complete picture. But now to the comment of Brinda Sundari, and regarding something that I was present to quite to the beginning of the kata, you mentioned one thing that really struck me, and that was that if you're guided and you receive the bhajan pranali in a specific way, and then you switch it or mix something else into it without the guidance, without just whimsically out of your, oh, I went to Radhakund and I met those guys and they were speaking something about bhajan pranali, and you most often, out of not really being bhajana vigna, being the expert in bhajan, so you accept those elements, that you will really create the havoc for your bhajan. And it's really closely related to what Brinda Sundari Mataji now posted. I can see such a deep truth in it. Even I never went through bhajan pranali, anything like that, but I have my tries for, let's say, artificial smaranam for some periods, and not really being supported properly with the Nam Bhajan and everything. And I can confirm it 100%. Even your conclusion, like what you have commented in the beginning, that you really create a havoc. Even Brinda Sundari's comment that you will really just invite the mental troubles, serious mental troubles. And another thing which I see what's the greatest danger is that at last you will come out with your fate's gonna be frustrated. Your fate in the process, in the procedure of the bhajan. You will just come to the conclusion, oh, it doesn't work anyway. And you may lose the faith in the whole conception of any bhajan action. You will just come out like, oh, it doesn't work. So I very much appreciated that point. And I really liked your discussion with Jai Gaura Prabhu. These were the points that I had in mind. Also, I wanted to relate in that regard one story. I've heard, probably it was Prem-bhakti-candrika Prabhu, if I remember correct, that he had a discussion on these topics with I don't know his name actually. It was the Vaidhi guru of Mahanidhi Maharaj. and he was asking him like, how do you do it with the Siddha Pranali Diksha? Like, what's your standard and what's your practice? And this devotee, he told him, like, if someone comes to me asking for Siddha Pranali, and it's not obvious that he's at least on the Asakti platform, meaning like one step before the Bhava, I will just slap him in the face, was the answer of that Vaishnava. So it was just some thoughts coming to my mind regarding this. But I will have to listen to the whole class again to have like complete picture of
the Nishtha to our Guru. And if you we were in Sweden some years ago, and there was one Mataji coming every day. She's initiated by Ananta Das Pandit, the Mahant at Radhakund. Somehow she was coming to our classes every day. She really liked them. That's fine. We love her. She was so nice and such a sweet, wonderful person. Whoever your guru is, whatever bhajan pranali you got from your guru, you have faith in that and do that. I've seen people, to be a little bit sarcastic, practically that they go to Radhakund sometimes, and on Monday they meet one sadhu and he gives them Ekadas Bhav, and then on Tuesday they meet another sadhu and they change, and now they have, and then on Wednesday they have another one after that. You're like, what are you going to get? One such person I know, he went through 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 different Vaishnava gurus in ISKCON and Gaudiya Math, and in the end he became a Buddhist. At one point he was so brilliant. He knew Sanskrit, he knew Bengali, he was so good. But I saw he was really becoming bewildered. It's not, you may say, well, this guru is not as good as his other guru. Maybe not. But you have your guru. You've accepted your guru. And as long as the bhajan pranali that he's given you is a bona fide bhajan pranali, then you follow that. My Guru Maharaj used to say that if you leave your guru for another guru, even if the other guru is more advanced, you won't get anything. Just commit.
Yeah, that's a strong point. Yeah.
So we come to Guru to do bhajan. So let's follow the bhajan pranali of our Guru Dev and follow for his pleasure.
What maybe comes to me in this regard as you are speaking is that then we really have to be, I mean, in a sense, like, do we really want to get bhajan pranali from our Gurudev? Meaning, are we ready and willing to be so close to Gurudev to really be interested in knowing his heart, and based on that, on the closeness of the relationship, really receive the personal guidance on our bhajan? Because that's something that I would dare to claim is missing so much in the huge institutional environment. And devotees are not really appreciating the importance of it. That's the thing.
The need of it at all. We just think everything is by the institution. I follow the temple presence.
Yeah. It will happen automatically, and then all these mantras. And then...
we have a misunderstanding. The temple is there to train new people, and the temple is very, very important. And the temple is there for preaching, and it's a place for devotees to come and stay. But we also need some personal guidance. And if we're afraid to go to Gurudev, because it's kind of a scary thing, we go to Gurudev and he's just so otherworldly. He just doesn't want the material, mundane things. And if I go to him, what if he tells me not to eat pizza? Oh my God! I'm gonna jump off a bridge or something. I can't live anymore. What if he in that kind of mood? So many devotees were attached, and I think it's also because of the lack of faith in the ultimate goal. And this is something that happens again, that the institution is such an important thing to train new people up, but we put so much stress on that training for new people. And if we try to replace personal guidance with some institutional formula, then what happens is it creates a lack of faith. That's the result. People just start thinking in a kind of mechanical way, and they become annoyed with you. We've seen so many times they become annoyed with you if you stress that we should have a personal relationship. We should see some.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, bro. I will listen to it once more properly.
Wednesday, we still haven't heard anything from India. I mean, as the days go by, it looks more and more like
we're waiting. We're waiting.
Anapani's wedding was today.
Yeah.
It felt so bad.
Krishna.
I'll post a picture of her. I saw on Facebook a picture of her and Vanahari at their wedding. I made a little video. I was up to midnight last night. I made a little video. Giving some marital advice and whatever. And we sent that out to them. So that was today. And this was a big date we wanted. We wanted to be there for Radhanath Maharaj's Yatra. Number 2, we had to be there for Anapani's wedding. Number 3, for the Govardhan retreat, which is yet to come, but that's another week or so.
In a few days, actually, it's coming.
So I better go because Manish is going to become annoyed with you and I because he has it.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay, Manish, here it goes. It makes sense from what I understand in your reply. We follow the process of Prabhupada, but the focus is not in the reading for relishing, but rather we do our process of japa kirtan and reading to inspire our kirtan, as opposed to reading because this is the topmost literature. Read a little, use that to help cultivate an internal mood, then we can use in our kirtan small sanghas to go deeper internally. I would generally agree with that. Yeah, that's pretty much my thinking. Pretty much. My Guru Maharaj used to stress that we're hearing as a service. That's the best service for Guru. This what comes to my mind just now. After I met my Guru Maharaj, I surrendered to him in 1993 in America. I traveled with him some. I got initiated by him, and he went back to India. Later, he told me, his servant, Sachinanda Prabhu, told me that Guru Maharaj had commented to him, "Oh, he's a very sincere boy." I'm not a very sincere boy. I'm just a real rascal like anything, but I really tried to hear. I really tried to. I would sit right in front and I would just drink whatever Guru Maharaj spoke. And that he liked that. That melted his heart something. So we want to hear as a service. That's the best service that we can do. There's nothing worse, I'll tell you, for a traveling preacher or someone to go to someone's home. I've seen it so many times with my Guru Maharaj. I've experienced it so many times personally. You go to someone's home because you love them, you want to have an exchange with them, and you don't see them. It would be like, this did not happen at Jai Gaur's house, at Lila Purushottam's house, but to make up an exchange, which didn't happen. But it would be like going to Lila Purushottam's house and 20 devotees come for the program, but there's no Lila Purushottam. And Mataji's wife's not there. And they're in the kitchen the whole time because they want to cook for all the devotees and they want to serve everybody, and that's very nice. But you don't feel so inspired because you like them. Why can't you cook earlier or something? This is for you. When you're going to see someone, it really pleases. So hearing is a service, japa is a service, reading is a service. And when we read like that as a service, and it may be difficult to do that. In a way, it's like I'm reading for a service, but I like to read this. But then read it as a service and think, okay, I'm reading this, but then I want to share it with somebody because that'll please my Gurudev. I want to take some notes on this thing. Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Maharaj once that preparing 15 minutes of preparing for class is the equivalent of reading for 2 hours. I often heard that from Dhanara Maharaj. So if we're reading as a service, to try to please them, that's so much more powerful. It's not for me. Because, and why is this so important? Because this I, me, mine, this ahankara is so strong. It's so strong. And the way it translates, usually after a little bit of spiritual life, as I start thinking, maybe at first I'm thinking about liberation. I want to go back to Godhead, Prabhu, and can I go back in this life? And Prabhupada dangled that in front of us and encouraged us in that. We should not be lazy. But nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam bhaja vidisha kami mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti hutikitve. We don't care about liberation. That's one of the essential principles of Mahaprabhu's movement. So in the beginning, we do want that. And maybe in the beginning, we want pretty girls and handsome young men, and we want gulabjamans and pakoras and pizza and whatever things. And that's okay in one sense. Let the new people have that. But at a certain point, if we're really serious, let's try to do these things for the pleasure of Guru. And I'm not saying we can artificially do that. We've seen so many, my God, brahmacharis trying to be something that they're not. Mityachara, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, not brahmachari. Mitya means a lie. They're living a lie instead of brahmachari, instead of living a spiritual life and living mityachara, a lie, because they're trying to imitate something that they're not. That's very bad. We should be honest. Gaura Prabhu comments, I appreciate the association of all devotees, but I'm really grateful for the association and encouragement of devotees who push me towards my Gurudev's instructions and to have faith that I should simply serve him and take his instructions to heart. Gaura Prabhu, let me say to you, as someone who lost the physical association of my Gurudev, after his physical departure, my greatest friends are those people who push me to serve him and to serve my Gurudev and to remember him. Thank you so much for saying that. On the contrary, there are many devotees who tend to minimize that relationship and try to force only Prabhupada down my throat. Of course, I take shelter of Srila Prabhupada, but Gurudev and my Siksha Gurus are always refining and helping to understand and take shelter of what Srila Prabhupada has given, and therefore they are so dear to me. Sridhar Maharaj, Prabhupada's godbrother, once said that aparad, that if you criticize someone's guru, you're doing aparad, and that means you're stepping on the shadow of Radha by criticizing someone's guru, because Radharani is the basis of all the devotion. It's the worst kind of thing. I never did. I'll tell you a true story. I traveled for 2 weeks once on a car trip doing research in old ancient temples in Rajasthan with a devotee from New Vrindavan who was initiated by Kirtanananda. And this was after Kirtanananda had left his body. And I knew a lot of things about Kirtanananda. I was good friends with one of his personal bodyguards who told me a lot of stuff that we don't want to talk about, because I'll just say this: all the very, very, very worst things you may have heard, it's worse than that. But I traveled with him for 2 weeks, and I never said anything bad about his guru. I take pride in that. And the whole time, and I knew so many things I could tell him, but the whole time I found genuinely good things to say. I heard that he used to encourage all the devotees. He used to drive around in his Jeep and he'd give devotees rides. And he was just so encouraging and so loving because he had faith in his guru. I didn't have so much faith in his guru. But my principle that I've learned is you don't ever criticize someone's guru if they have faith. If they don't have faith in their guru, and they have more faith in you, my Guru Maharaj said this directly once, then you can say something to them. But if they don't have more faith in you, you can't do that. And he didn't have more faith in me. And anyway, Kirtanananda Prabhu got him to chant Hare Krishna, got him to worship Radha Krishna and take prasadam and read Bhagavatam. Can't be all bad. So I just said some nice things about it. So thank you, Jai. Thank you very much, Guru Prabhu. Manishwar Jai, thank you. It's beautiful if we can touch on listening as a service. Hare Krishna, bro. Manish again comments, not only does it help change our attitude in that we're doing this as a service to Guru, but it makes us more compassionate with devotee relationships also. It makes us so much more sensitive. It's such a basic, we're really going to the heart of our heart. We have so many coverings, identities and things covering our soul, but by going and trying to do bhajan as a service, it's like we're just getting rid of so many coverings at one time, and we're going right to the heart of the matter. All right. Anybody else has anything? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and stop. So thank you all so much. It's really beautiful to see everybody, and we'll see you next week. I think, actually, I have no idea where we're going to be next week, where we're going to be staying at all. We can't make any plan. It's just an amazing situation. It's very, very difficult, especially for Krishna Kund, just to make plans. What service am I going to do? What books are we going to work on? This or that or the other. Krishna Kund says, that's not Madhavananda Das, everyone. That's Krishna Kund, everyone. I think we'll meet next week. Navanandagram, maybe. Rajaraj Gopal, please let us serve you in the US. Maybe. We thought about that. Especially in Arizona or Florida, or Hawaii, it's much warmer than Czech Republic or Lithuania right now, or Ukraine. They just had some heavy storms there. UK
minus 12 today morning.
In the morning, oh my God! I went for a walk this afternoon, and there's puddles of water everywhere from the rain. And I'm walking along, and some places on the sidewalk, it's been shadow's been there all day, and it was ice, thick ice. I found quite a bit of ice. It's cold here today.
There was a solid ice cover on all roads. Like, it was terrible.
I have to say, that's against my religion, and I'm a very religious person. Thank you, Manish. Okay, also, I have no idea. We've thought about UK, we've thought about Czech, some devotees in South Africa and Australia, which are a long ways away from each other, have invited us, and it's summertime there. That's a big plus. And Denver,
since you're getting many invitations now.
I used to work in Keystone in the Arapahoe Basin. I don't know if Brenda Sundari knows about those places, but that's not so far away from Denver, Colorado. It's in Colorado. I was doing when I was 18 years old. Another life. All right, yeah, but the thing is, for us traveling, really, Krishna Kund, her nerves are very, very bad right now. It's just too much traveling. We need to stay in one place and do some writing, do some sadhana, and get some guitar and things with devotees. So I don't know. We'll see where Krishna takes us. Maybe it'll be UK, Denver, Underground. Rajadam has invitation there. I have no. Yeah, host you in Atlanta. Atlanta's a little warmer anyway. All right. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate being with everybody. That's our life. Somebody recently, I just want to share this little thing. Somebody recently, I had some discussion. I was kind of chastising critics. I have a habit of doing that because it really hurts my heart when I see people being so angry, criticizing people. And somebody was telling me, yeah, but ISKCON is so bad, Madhavananda, you should just leave. Somehow they liked me. You liked me enough to tell me I should leave ISKCON and should give, because it's just a bunch of hypocrites and scandals. And I told them, I said, what can I do? My Gurudev told me to be here. And I said, there's so many sweet, wonderful devotees. I'm just, what can I do? I'm just here to serve in this mission. I'm sorry if some people criticize that and make fun of it, but that's just where I'm serving, what I'm doing. Okay, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Go Prema-bhakti-candrika Hari Hari Bo, Vancha Kalpa Vidubhascha, Kripa Sindhu Bheva Cha Patitanam,